miserable of a person you have to be to come on this internet and start shading your stepkids.
My biological daughter has the biggest room in our house, and let me tell you why.
This stepmother is a typical example of the wicked stepmother. So you're saying that you have your biological daughter, your biological child has the biggest room in the house. Then your stepchildren have to share a tiny space. They're like two, and they're going to share a tiny space because they don't stay all the time in the house. They kind of go to the other parent's house and spend time. They have a well furnished room, another place, while they also have a well furnished room here. So they don't need a bigger space. No problem. And you also say that another reason is because your own biological child, their parents are still together, but then the other children, their parents are no longer together. Let me show you all the video.
Biological daughter has the biggest room in our house, and let me tell you why. You may disagree with me because she's the baby and she has two bigger siblings, but I want you to understand something. This is her only house. Mom and dad are still together, and it drives my stepkids insane. They're like, but she's the youngest. We're older. Why don't we get the big room? I'm jealous. It's not fair. Okay, first of all, fair is something you pay to ride the bus. Second of all, you have two homes that are fully stocked with anything you could ever want. She's not. Okay, mom and dad are still together, me and my husband. Everything she has is in this one house. They go every other week to another house that is fully stocked. So don't let your kids, your stepkids, anybody manipulate you for the decision that you're making by telling you that it's not fair. I have a reason, okay? And although I've explained this to them, I'm sure they don't care, and I'm sure it doesn't really click in their brain, because to them, my kids, they're like, wow, Kinley's the baby and she's yours, she gets the bigger room. No, it's not. This is her only home. Now, if they all lived with us full time, the oldest would get it. It's that simple. But that's not the way that it is, and this is the way it's going to be as long as things are the way that they are. Anyways, check back in with you next week.
What do you guys think on how she's putting this whole thing? Nobody's saying you don't have a big space for your child. It's your house, right? But there's the way she's saying it, and the way the attitude, and she's the fact that she also say, don't let any stepchild or anybody manipulate you or not to do what is good for your biological child. Something is up. And it's showing that I do not like my stepchildren. I don't like them. I'm just with them. And I will always love my biological child more than my stepchildren, of course. And I'm also advising you women that have stepchildren as well, do the same thing, because don't let anybody. I feel like she's trying to also advise other women to be like her and treat their stepchildren the way she's treating our stepchildren. Now I can imagine how the stepchildren are kind of feeling, seeing that, okay, mommy has a beautiful bigger room for our own biological child, but we have to squeeze in a tiny space because we are not our biological children. Anyway, let me show you all some reaction on this video, then I'll share my thoughts at the end of the video.
My biological daughter has the biggest room in our house, and let me tell you why.
We're definitely off to a strong start by emphasizing the word biological here, but give me the reason.
Because she's the baby and she has two bigger siblings, but I want you to understand something. This is her only house. Mom and dad are still together, and it drives my stepkids insane. They're like, but she's the youngest. We're older. Why don't we get the big room? I'm jealous.
I think I kind of get your point here, but the choice of words, interesting.
Okay, mom and dad are still together, me and my husband. Everything she has is in this one house. They go every other week to another house that is fully stocked. So don't let your kids, your stepkids, anybody manipulate you for the decision that you're making by telling you that it's not fair. I have a reason.
So even if you have a reason, your stepchildren are still entitled to their feelings, and they're not manipulating you just because they feel some sort of a jealousy there. It's pretty rational to think a child would be jealous that their half sibling gets the bigger room and their parents are together. They don't have to divide everything they have into two homes. Because where you see it as they have two rooms, they see it as their family is split up and they have to divide everything they own. So they don't think of it as, I have two spaces divided up. They think of it as, everything I own is split in half. They have their own struggles with their parents being divorced, I'm sure. And it's very invalidating for their step-parent to say, well, see, you get a bonus of having two rooms. It's really fun. And paint it out as if you are getting the reward in the long run. And I feel like as a stepmom, it is inappropriate to say that your stepchildren are manipulating you for trying to express their jealousy because they have complex feelings and they think that they should get the bigger room because they are the oldest sibling, but you are shoving in their face that their parents are not together every chance that you can by saying, well, her parents are together, so she should have the bigger room. Your reason can be completely valid while still not be worded in a way that feels fair to a child. Because you keep emphasizing biological child. Your parents aren't together. Her parents are together. You get 2 rooms, so she deserves the bigger room. You keep emphasizing she deserves the bigger room because her parents are together. How do you think that's going to make them feel? You're getting mad that your kids are feeling insecure while you are making a clear division in the house. Obviously, they're going to feel insecure. Obviously, they're going to have some jealousy there when you are painting it out this way.
My biological daughter has the biggest room in our house, and let me tell you why.
I was sent this. I will send y'all the link if you want it. But essentially, she goes on to say that her step kids have 2 homes and they have 2 rooms that are fully furnished. So her biological daughter gets the biggest room because both of her parents are together and this is the only house she has. And she said that directly to these children. I don't agree with that at all. Even if that's how she feels, why are you saying this to these kids?
It's their fault.
Like, you think it's a flex to have a split home and have 2 rooms? Do you think it's a flex, like, to have the fact that your parents aren't together? Absolutely not. Like, these kids can't control that. So for you to tell them, like, oh yeah, your sister's parents are together, that's why she has the biggest room. You're making stepmoms look really bad. But like I said, you can get very bad stepmoms. You can get very bad bio moms. And this situation is all the way wrong. The delivery was horrible. Even if that's how she felt, she could have been like, well, because she's younger, there's just ways to frame it for children so that they don't feel less than. And I definitely think she made them feel less than, and she was wrong. And my concern is, one, where's your husband? And he supports this? And when you're along with these kids, this is how you talk to them? This is how you treat them? Oh no, if someone did that to my kids, y'all, if my kid's stepmom did something like that, oh, we're gonna have some serious issues. Because my kids should feel loved, my kids should feel welcomed, and she's not doing that for her 2 stepkids.
A miserable of a person you have to be to come on this internet and start shading your stepkids.
My biological daughter has the biggest room in our house, and let me tell you why. You may disagree with me because she's the baby and she has 2 bigger siblings, but I want you to understand something.
And the reason that she does that is because the other kids, they go back and forth between the 2 parents. And she's like, why should I have to give my biological child a small room when the step kids, they have another room somewhere else? I'm like, girl, like, nobody on this here internet asks you for this. You just wanted to come and start shading these kids because you hate them.
Don't let your kids or stepkids, anybody, manipulate you for the decision that you're making by telling you that it's not fair. I have a reason, okay? And although I explain this to them, I'm sure they don't care. And I'm sure it doesn't really click in their brain because to them, my kids, they're like, well, Kim is the baby and she's yours. She gets the bigger room. No, it's not. It's her only home. Now, if
you didn't like the stepkids, why did you marry the man? Like, I don't understand why people choose to place themselves in relationships where they're not going to be happy. Like, you didn't have to make that decision. If that man had kids that you didn't like, you could have went with someone that had no kids.
I'm confused. You got with a man who already has kids. You stay with him, be with him, married him, whatever, and had your own child. And now you're on the internet telling the world that you hate your stepkids. You said, oh, the reason why my stepkids resent me is because my daughter has the biggest room in the house. Da-da-da-da. Okay? Like, you can choose to do that. That's fine. It's your house. But it's the way you're saying stuff and the way you're talking about your stepkids that just does not make sense to me. You tell these kids that the reason why certain things are happening in your home is because your daughter's parents are still together, which is you and your husband, and your stepkids' parents aren't. What? Are you okay up there? What's even more annoying is the fact that you continue making videos about your stepkids and being a step-parent. You knew that this man had kids prior to being with him, and you're on the internet stressed out, complaining in this stuff, but you chose that. And you continue saying stuff like, step-parents don't have to do anything for step-kids. Why did you put yourself in that situation if you didn't want to be there? You wanted him to not be in those kids' lives. You thought that he was going to cut everything off from his past life and just be focused on you and your kid. And when that didn't happen, you basically hate those kids. You lose sleep at night still thinking about their mom. That's why you're on this internet talking like that.
This is her only house. Mom and dad are still together, and it drives my stepkids insane.
Yeah, you didn't make that video so you could share a solution to a parenting and space issue. You made that because you hate your stepkids.
Yeah.
They annoy the you, and you want everybody to know it. The way you make the distinction between your stepkids and your biological child, the way you mock their tone and the way you speak, just making fun of them and degrading the way they speak. They're teenagers. We get it. They want more. The way you don't say, well, space, you have space in 2 homes, my daughter only has 1. You say, just because her parents are still together. You don't say because her parents live with each other and your parents don't live with each other. You said because her parents are still together. You can't stand those kids. I'm willing to bet you probably can't stand their mom. I bet you talk about their mom like that too. And you want to come on here and be like, oh, they're being so greedy, they're being so awful, they're so annoyed, and how could they? And you're dragging children through the mud and making fun of them and praising your biological daughter over their attitude, not their problem, not the space issue going on in the house, but their attitude and their mindset and how you don't like how they complain. Stop talking about people's kids like that, man.
My biological daughter has the biggest room in our house, and let me tell you why.
Oh my goodness. I hope it's not because you treat them differently because they're not your biological children. I hope that's not the case. But something tells me it is the case in the way that you refer to your daughter as your biological child. Anyway.
She's the baby, and she has 2 bigger siblings, but I want you to understand something. This is her only house. Mom and Dad are still together.
Oh, it is because they aren't your biological children. Okay. Anyway, let's continue.
And it drives my stepkids insane. They're like, but she's the youngest. We're older. Why don't we get the big room? I'm jealous. Okay, Mom and Dad are still together, me and my husband. Everything she has is in this one house. They go every other week to another house that is fully stocked.
Yeah, so like, what do you mean fully stocked? What do you mean by that? Is your house not fully stocked for your stepchildren? I'm not quite understanding what you mean by that. Why wouldn't your house be fully stocked for them?
So, don't let your kids or stepkids, anybody, manipulate you for the decision that you're making by telling you that it's not fair. I have a reason.
You might have a reason. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good one, though, right? I fear we could have come up with, like, a better reason. My question is, do they share a smaller room? Or, like, you have 2 stepkids that are older than your child. Are they sharing one room that is smaller than the room that your child has for all of their things? If so, that is kind of odd, right? Do they have their own bedrooms? Like, you guys have 50-50 custody. You said that they're with you every other week, which means that half of their life, they're at your house. I don't know. But, like, we can articulate a reason a lot better than, oh, this is my child since her parents are still together. Yeah, your parents' relationship failed, but my child's parents' relationship didn't fail, so she gets the bigger room. And I just think that's ew, gross, yuck, yuck. You know what I mean? I just think this is something weird to put on the internet. Like, you do you have every right to do that. But why upload it to the internet? Saying, hey, look at me, I've got stepkids, and I really don't care about them. Because the language that you use to describe your husband's children speaks volumes, whether you think it does or not. You don't love those children. You do not treat them as your own. You have spite for his ex-wife, and it's really quite sad. Not only for you and your child, but also your stepkids.
My biological daughter has the biggest room in our house, and let me tell you why. You may disagree with me because she's the baby and she has 2 bigger siblings, but I want you to understand something. This is her only house. Mom and Dad are still together, and it drives my stepkids insane. They're like, but she's the youngest. We're older. Why don't we get the big room? I'm jealous. It's not fair. Okay, first of all, fair. Some people may ride less. Second of all, you have 2 homes that are fully stocked.
Did anybody else see this video pop up on their For You page a couple days ago? And now the entire account, I cannot even find it. So this mom basically comes on and says what you just saw. She has stepchildren and biological children, which bing, 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 that's a red flag right there. And we'll get into it. But she just basically says that her child who lives with both her and her husband, it has the biggest room because she's got the most toys. This is her only home. She doesn't have 2 homes that she juggles through, and that it makes the most sense for her daughter, her youngest child, to have this room. She also then goes on to continue to use biological child and stepchildren. Now, I don't know who she's trying to prove this to, us or herself. I really don't know, maybe her husband, but it wasn't so much this video, because I think a lot of people can understand, like, okay, like that makes sense. Like, your daughter's there 100% 90% of the time, and they are not. So why would you, give the biggest room to these children? Well, in follow-up videos, she goes on to explain that the two older children not only share a room, but it is one of the smallest rooms. So they now have this small room that they share, and they are older than her child. And that is where I think the children are coming in and saying, it's not really fair. Like, we barely have any room. The other thing I want to note, and just as a stepchild, because I think that step-parents love to make stepchildren seem very entitled, this mother is expressing that they're so lucky because they have two homes, everything stocked and filled. Do you know what they don't have? Mom and dad together. Do you know what they do have? Probably some childhood trauma that they're going to have to work through because their parents didn't work out, and now they have to deal with a stepmom in the mix of everything. No, you all hate to hear that, but most stepmoms, unfortunately, just meet that stereotype. So let's move forward. Other videos she posted, it says it's actually child to let your kids do whatever they want and not put an end to poor behavior. Now, she just expressed that her youngest child is a baby. Now, at what age that makes her, not really sure, don't really care. But what other people are saying in the comments of this video is what she means by that is she's likely correcting her stepchildren and not her biological child.
Let's run over some things real quick. Step-parents don't have to do anything for their step-kids.
Oh, you didn't believe me. Oh, no. Normally they tell on themselves. So now we have her saying that step parents, they don't have to do anything for their stepchildren. They don't owe their stepchildren anything. This is quite literally the most selfish mindset. And this is what I will say. Most step parents get into relationships with men where they think that they are going to be their priority and the children that they have with them is going to be the priority. And they make sure that those stepchildren, they know and they feel that. And her responses prove to me exactly that stereotype. I just want to be clear, not all step parents are like this. I know there are phenomenal step parents who step up, but I am speaking on the majority here. Majority of people are going to experience this. She doesn't owe those kids anything. She does not care, and she doesn't have to worry about those kids. And let's just add a little cherry on top. Most times they're in competition not only with those stepchildren, but also with the mother of those stepchildren. Do we need proof of that? Okay.
Your first marriage is like the first pancake that you make. You got to throw it out because the second...
Take a while, guess how she finishes that. The second one is way better, indicating that she's better than the first wife. Yes. So here we are. We have this scenario of this mom coming to TikTok again to prove, I don't know what point, that it's okay that she favorites her biological child, okay? But what she really is telling on herself is she is a step parent who was selfish enough to get with a man who had children. And those children are now the ones who have to deal with a stepmother like her. Most step parents do not realize that these children who are becoming your stepchildren, they are not the lucky ones. They are not the ones who have it all and have 2 Christmases and 2 birthdays. That's not always a benefit. And I think a lot of times women who are insecure, like this woman, want to find ways to belittle them, to make them feel better for having such selfish tendencies and wanting the husband to solely focus on them and their biological children together. But anyway, I want to hear your thoughts. Did you see any of these videos? Let me know what you think down in the comments.
That video she made and posted, and probably all your follow-ups, just clearly show how much she doesn't like those stepchildren. If you only want to like your own biological children, don't marry a man that already have children and has custody of those children. I don't think you're kind of, hurting those kids one way or the other. And the thing is that those children did not choose that kind of lifestyle for themselves, going from one family house to the other. That is not what they want for themselves. It's difficult for them as well. Sometimes when you kind of talk to them deeply, you will see how hurt, and sometimes they just want... I feel like children, they always like when their mom and their dad are together. It makes them happy. But then the fact that they grew up seeing their mom and their dad together, and now their mom is with another person, the dad is with another person, and they have to get to know you and get to love you as their dad's wife, is crazy. It's a lot on them. You're making them feel like it's a privilege for you to have them as their stepchildren. It's crazy. And you saying those words to those children, it's annoying. And I can imagine if she can post this online. People are like, why did she post this online? The thing is, if she can post this online and also giving advice to women that are in her shoes as well, that has stepchildren that they do not like, and biological children or biological child, they should also treat, they should also do whatever they want to do. They should not let anybody manipulate them on doing what is right for their biological child. I feel like the fact that she can come online and do all of this and say all of this and post all of this I can imagine what she's doing offline to those kids. I can imagine how the kind of words that should be hitting on. Maybe probably should be like, "Oh, your own parents are no longer together. Stop talking to my child like that." She might even be saying, "My child." Oh, you're not really my child. I don't know. Like, if you don't want to be a stepmom, don't be a stepmom, because it is not those children's fault. Like, it is not their fault that their parents are no longer together. So if you cannot be a stepmom to love those kids like your own, you have to love those your stepchildren as your own, as if you were the one that gave birth to them. Even though they do not love you as their mother, you have to love them like you. If you cannot, do not be with a man that already have children, because if you have your own child, I don't know. This is exactly how you're going to be treating these children, and it's going to show. It's going to show, and people are going to know that this person is not your child, right? It's just like people that actually adopt. Some women adopt children, and they do not love those children, and probably later on they have their own biological children. You see the difference. You will know that this one was adopted, and this one was one that they gave birth. You can't tell. I don't think people are supposed to be able to tell or even make those children feel that way, that they are not loved a certain way because their parents are no longer together, or because this is your own biological children. I'm not saying you don't have a big room for your child. Of course, she's a baby, she might want to crawl or have a full space for herself. That is not a problem. But the way you put the whole thing, the way you're kind of analyzing the whole thing, shows how much you don't really like those children. You're just doing it just because. And I know that deep down, you'll be very, very happy if they are no longer with you anymore. You guys, what's your take on this video? Do you think how she said that video makes sense? Or what do you, I just want to know what you guys think about this video down in the comment section. Respectfully, as always, your girl Mariah David. And thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please like and share and subscribe. And I'll see you in my next one.